video. I think I'm going to call this the second part of Ophiuchus because I was wanting to read some of this to you. A little bit of this, the gold and silver gates. Okay. I want to give my father and my godmother. I mean, I don't want to forget her because we have to have a father and a mother. So, and for people that, I want to give them all the glory, honor, and praise. But anyway, and my Redeemer Yeshua, all the honor, glory, and praise. But anyway, uh, let's talk about these gates because we're fixing to end. You're going to enter these gates. I'm the person that will read the book of life to see if your name is in there. Just like Moses, when they were fixing to leave Egypt, and the Pharaoh wouldn't let God's people go. Well, one of the things that was coming, God was doing these judgments on them over and over and over, to this Pharaoh and their government. But one of them was about the seventh or eighth judgment against this Pharaoh, because he wouldn't let God's people go, was that he's going to, the death angel's going to come and kill all the newborn babies, or up to 2 years old. So God told Moses, you take the blood of a goat, get hyssop and put over your doors to protect your children. And that sign was a cross. That you make with that blood. He put every one of the Jewish people, God's people, took that hyssop and like a paintbrush and made a cross up there of that goat's blood. And when the death angel come that night, all of God's babies, the children, none of them died, but all the pharaohs and all the government, all them Egypt people, if they had a boy or girl in that age, they died because the death angel come through. God sent the death angel. God's a serious God. His God is only a title. His name is El Elyon. His most high name is El Elyon. And so anyway, God's a serious. He's a jealous God. Really, he wants his people to love him. That's all he asks for. And when he created human beings, he created us with cells of light. That's what we're created with. Each cell has memory in it of your ancestors. And you can access that information. Some people can if you talk to God every day like I do. If I'm not thinking of something else, most of the time I'm talking to God, through my mind. Not, I really don't speak it out loud a lot or anything like that, but I speak to him through my mind. I've done it since I was 5 or 6 years old. I mean, it was, because when I come into this world, I did not understand it. But anyway, I'm going to go on with this. I'm going to read this a little bit about the golden gates of heaven and the silver gate. There's 2 gates up there that enters into heaven, gold and silver gate. All right, there are only 2 gates, entryways into heaven. One being the intersection between Taurus and Gemini is known as the silver gate of heaven. The intersection between Scorpio and Sagittarius, where Ophiuchus is located, is known as the golden gate of heaven. The galactic center lies visually from our solar system along that line that passes through the Golden Gate. The constellation of Ophiuchus, the serpent holder, sits 180 degrees across Orion. Face one to face the galactic center, face the other, and you have to have your back to the galactic center. Ophiuchus sits in the direction toward the center of our galaxy. The ancients called it the Gate of the Gods. Orion sits in the opposite direction, which would be considered the anti-galactic center, and the ancients called this direction, the gate of man. And to be quite truthful with you, I haven't ever really researched out this silver gate. I haven't really put a lot of research in it, but I have the golden gate. Anyway, in the Greek tale, Ophiuchus tramples on Scorpio, and having received the elixir of life from the serpent, restores Orion to life. At the time, Orion set at sunrise on the winter solstice, thereby symbolically entering the underworld. To be reborn, he rises on the summer solstice. On the winter solstice, Scorpio does rise, but with Ophiuchus on its back. And as Scorpio dies, when Orion rises, rising with the sun. In the summer, Ophiuchus is also setting, driving the scorpion down to the underworld beneath her. Ophiuchus and Orion represent the part of our life cycle of life that we all incarnate into as going from earthly beings through the gate of man, eternal beings through the gate of gods. So there's a reason for those two gates. There, you will be. This is the Gospel of Judas, the one that was taken. It might have been in a canon of Scripture at one time. I don't know about that. I've really not put a lot of research into it. But you will become the 13th, and you will be cursed by other generations, and you will come to rule over them. So this person's coming to rule over them. In the last days, they will curse your accent to the holy generation. What that's saying is there that you will be seen as the person that's guarding this gate and is letting people in. It reads the book of life to see if your name in it, and actually the church is going to rise up with the Antichrist. Most of the church people are going to rise with the Antichrist, and under law and order. That's what they're. I know Ron DeSantis just done a whole big speech on law and order, just like Donald Trump did. Law and order, law and order. And the church is going to go along with that, thinking that's the only way that it can be done. But God is picking a righteous king that's going to do right, for the 1,000-year millennium. God is going to pick somebody that is equal. You're free to believe what you want to believe. I'll fight for that every day of my life. I'll fight for you to be free, as you can believe anything you want to believe. But there's one thing you have to get right. That's Jesus Christ. You have to get that right to get to this point. And that's my duties, is telling people the right way. Because if you read John 10 verse 1, it says, if you try to go any other way, that's 101. That's what my last name equals to, 101. If you try to go any other way to heaven, you're a thief and a robber. And because it was such a price that Jesus paid, that, it was a horrific price that he paid to redeem us back from the fall of Adam. So anyway, that's what they're saying. So there were 13 tribes of Israel. The tribe of Dan got kicked out because of their evilness and stuff that they were doing, but they're going to come back at the end. And just like the Antichrist is going to come from the tribe of Dan, so is this person that's coming is going to have a lot of the tribe of Dan in him, the restrainer, and will crush the head of the serpent. That's what's happening right now as we're going in. Anyway, but Ophiuchus is the crossing over constellation. As you move your sight through the sky, observing the signs of the outside of Ophiuchus, starting with Scorpio, and move your eyes now over to Sagittarius, you cross over. That's what my name means, is Travis. That's what my name Travis means. You cross over, a toll gate keeper. Your name will tell you everything about you, really. If you start looking it up, and God said He's going to give us a way to decode. Give us knowledge, and one of those ways is how to decode yourself. There's that philosopher I can't even pronounce his name. Pythagoras, yeah, is he's one of the person that one of the people who figured out this like this gematria stuff, and so look, with Jesus, they hid him from the age of 12 till 30 years old. They hid everything he done. At 12 years old, he was teaching the scribes, the Pharisees, the scholars of that day. He was teaching them the Bible. And but from the age 12, he went traveling all across this, all across the earth that he was, could go by walking, riding camels, or whatever. He went and studied the religions of that time, of those culture of people. He went and studied them, and there's old pictographs that show him holding a wand, and I ain't saying that's true or not, but it sure looks to me, after I've researched it, that's what he was doing. He went and he was researching all these religions, because each of them had a special kind of a knowledge, that the church people didn't have, because the the rabbis of that time is the ones who wanted Jesus hung because of his teaching. So anyway, I'm in this video. I just wanted to read that. Thank y'all for coming to my channel. I'm gonna ask you to share it and like it, please.